Skibidi Toilet is an online phenomenon that has left many confused, but nearly all interested. I don't know a thing about this series popular with Gen Alpha, but I'd really like to. So with that thesis in mind, I thought we could go through every single episode of this series in pursuit of that great unknown toilet truth. This isn't going to be comprehensive. This isn't like a history of or anything like that. I just thought it would be funny to look through this enormous spectacle of a series. So let's take a look, boys and bees. Episode 1, we get our first look at a Skibidi Toilet. He appears, sings his song, and that's the end. Knowing where this goes eventually, these are startlingly humble beginnings. Episode 2 features a location change of this elevator, and we also get a look at multiple Skibidis. Whatever this thing is, it's spreading. May God help us all. Episode 3 shook me to my core. There's a crowd of people, terrified, afraid, and when the camera pans to show us, oh my fucking God, the Skibidis are growing in number and size. And they're coming. Episode 4, we see this group of people eating a nice dinner, sitting on toilets. They have no idea what's coming. Suddenly a Skibidi breaks through the door with Big Skibidi in tow just behind him. The infection spreads. The people can't even scream. Episode 5 has a group of people watching in horror. It seems the military is trying to contain this disease, but it's no use. Several more big Skibidis appear out of nowhere and begin raining down a vomit of other smaller Skibidis. Could this be the end? Episode 6 follows a group of Skibidis and what seems to be infected people as they dance. A giant DJ Skibidi emerges and sings that terrible song. They're destroying the world, and yet they dance. It sends a chill up my spine. Episode 7 features our first instance of someone trying to fight back against the Skibidis, and even successfully managed to defeat one. But it's not enough. He's surrounded. And we get a look at our series' main antagonist, Skibidi G-Man. A monstrous, disgusting creature. Episode 8 gives us a view of what seems to be an all-out war between these camera head things and the Skibidis. Could there be hope after all? Episode 9 has us in a POV of someone fighting the Skibidis. He successfully flushes 2 of them and spray paints a mysterious logo over top a Skibidi monument. But he's not quick enough. He's quickly surrounded by Skibidi police toilets. This revolution is over before it has begun. Episode 10 takes us to this creepy, fucked up place full of Skibidi toilets. Up jumps a Skibidi that... could this be their god? But luckily, a bunch of resistance people bust through the door and flush him away. It's a triumphant moment. Episode 11 takes us back to the city streets. The resistance is fighting, but their numbers just keep growing. It's a somber sight, and an even more somber episode. Episode 12 is an Avengers-level battle. The Skibidis and resistance are fighting back and forth. It's hard to tell who is even winning amongst the massacre. This fight is brutal and epic. My jaw was hanging open. Episode 13, the battle continues. We see this machine shooting lasers out of its big fucking cock at a big Skibidi in the sky. The machine gets destroyed, but then so does the Skibidi. The battle rages on. Episode 14 opens on a shot that seems to suggest that the resistance is about to have their final victory. But it is short-lived. The DJ Skibidi appears and destroys them all. Couldn't contain my sorrow. Episode 15 has a resistance member using the Big Baba Booey bomb to destroy a whole bunch of Skibidis. Very satisfying. But then, oh God! This twist ending really caught me by surprise. Episode 16, Undercover Assault. The resistance sends a drone toilet into the Skibidis' lair. They detonate it, and there are some casualties. But down goes the resistance member. Haunting. haunting stuff. Episode 17 follows a foolhardy ragtag group of younger rookies from the Resistance. They try to kill G-Man Skibidi and his entire gaggle of generals. It does not go well for them. This episode was about hubris and pride. Killer stuff. Episode 18 has a big giant machine from the Resistance fighting off a bunch of different Skibidis. There's a lot of cool designs here, and it's a hard-earned victory for the Resistance. Episode 19 has that same machine from the last episode, taking out some of G-Man Skibidi's generals. It's another hard fight, but it's also hard won. I can't imagine G-Man Skibidi is going to like this one. Episode 20 has our machine friend taking on G-Man Skibidi himself. He manages to block his laser attack, but gets stunned by one of the generals and has to retreat to recover. It gives us a great look at this big machine's weaknesses. Episode 21 has some members of the Resistance questioning a Skibidi about the location of G-Man Skibidi. The prisoner laughs in their faces, and G-Man Skibidi destroys them. They didn't need to look for him. Episode 22 has an all-out war scene. A couple members of the Resistance manage to climb onto G-Man Skibidi and they try to flush him, and it doesn't work. He's not going down that easy. And then we get to this monstrosity, Skibidi Spider. Disgusting. Episode 23 has the Resistance building an enormous machine, even bigger than the last. Some Skibidi toilets burst in, but flee in terror. The machine does not show mercy. Brutality of war sticks with you. Episode 24 is another battle episode. Our protagonist takes down a couple of Skibidis before getting knocked out by Spider Skibidi, until another member of the Resistance saves him and flushes that damn spider. They're so happy, they have to dance. God bless them. Episode 25 has a bunch of members of the Resistance wearing these noise-canceling headphones. You see, they've got an audio weapon of their own, and they blow the Skibidis sky high. The Resistance is going to win. Episode 26 is a spectacle, an all-out war between Skibidis and the Resistance. They fight back and forth until we get some of the craziest fighting we've seen so far. The highlight has got to be the reveal of the enormous machine. He blasts the giant Skibidi with a rocket launcher and sits on his throne. What a baller. Episode 27 has the Resistance raiding a Skibidi farm, or at least that's what it looks like. They cause all kinds of havoc. The Resistance is growing more powerful. Episode 28 has another POV of our character doing some Skibidi recon. It looks like our goose is cooked until the enormous machine saves the day. We're going to live to fight another Skibidi. Episode 29 has some members of the Resistance finally allowing themselves to relax for a moment. The war has been going well, when suddenly this creepy Skibidi we've never seen appears and kills every single one of them. It is a sickening display of power. War never changes. Episode 30 is awful, too. We see these Resistance members being tortured, and one of them gets possessed by this disgusting little Skibidi. They make him kill his fellow prisoner. This is a dark season. Episode 31, a bunch of possessed Resistance members, basically zombies and Skibidis, destroy a small group of other Resistance members. The war is entering a new chapter. Episode 32 is a heartbreaker. This enormous battle between Skibidis and Resistance. Enormous machine comes to save the day. We've danced this dance before, but the enormous machine gets possessed. Now just another tool in the Skibidi arsenal. This one really shook me to my core. Episode 33 shows the possessed enormous machine and G-Man Skibidi destroying a city together. It is devastating to imagine how enormous machine must be feeling. They destroy everything in their path. Episode 34 has the Resistance finally figuring out how to remove the possession effect. They might just be able to save their own day. They might have just uncooked their goose. Episode 35 shows us that a Resistance scientist has created a gun that shoots a beam that not only depossesses Resistance members, but also kills that disgusting little Skibidi. G-Man Skibidi and Enormous Machine invade, and they shoot Enormous Machine with the laser, but he's too far gone. Some Resistance members manage to make their escape as the building collapses. Episode 36. Wielding two of the guns at once, a Resistance member turns a group of possessed friends back into their normal selves. These restored Resistance then fight off the Skibidis they rode into town on. The Skibidis' plan is beginning to backfire. Episode 37. Two Resistance members get restored and beat to death the creepy Skibidi. I hope we don't see much more of him. He's really gross. Episode 38. The Resistance wheels a giant version of the restoring gun out to a battle and shoot it at the enormous machine to try and turn him back into himself. But at the last moment, G-Man Skibidi appears, blocking the shot and destroying the gun. The Skibidis win this one. Episode 39 is where the series officially makes the jump to widescreen. We get this new member of the Resistance who can freeze Skibidis in their tracks, frozen with fear. A Resistance member flashes him a thumbs up, and in return he flashes a smile, soon to become an iconic image. Episode 40 is a battle with a bunch of TV heads and giant Skibidis. The TV heads freeze them in their place, and they get flushed. It's a simple premise, but the pacing is tight, and the writing is even better. Episode 41 introduces us to an enormous TV head. In one fell swoop, with one blow of his horn, not only does he stun the Skibidis in place, but he flushes them as well, without ever even touching them. He flashes a cat face. The Resistance have grown into hardened warriors. Episode 42 gives us a look into the fact that the Resistance's technology is growing and improving. They have new tools that can do new, better things. But there's a surprise attack. This one caught me off guard. Episode 43. A bunch of TV heads try their usual tricks on the Skibidis, but for whatever reason, maybe because of these sunglasses the Skibidis are wearing, it doesn't work. The TV heads shrug, disappear into a cloud of smoke, and leave the Resistance to fight. This episode got me questioning loyalty. It was an interesting one. Episode 44 has a shitload of giant flying Skibidis trying to take down the enormous TV head, but it's no match. The TV head is just too strong for all of them. And as the episode ends, we see that possessed enormous machine has come to fight. The enormous TV head is not happy. Episode 45 is a kaiju encounter between enormous TV head and enormous machine. You see they both do considerable damage to each other, leading enormous machine to flee as we saw him do when he fought for the Resistance, and a seemingly annoyed enormous TV head disappearing into a cloud of smoke. This one was good, but the ending was a little anticlimactic. Episode 46 has enormous TV head chasing after enormous machine. A dumb idiot Skibidi tries to take on enormous TV head, and it does not go well. I don't know what this guy was thinking. And we get probably the most brutal death of the whole show up until now. This episode was an instant classic. Episode 47 is enormous TV head's last stand. He goes up against G-Man Skibidi, and at first he's kicking his ass. G-Man Skibidi looks really scared. That is until multiple other Skibidis show up and start laying into him, including enormous machine, who shows up and stabs him in the face. It's a dark day, but down he goes. This episode was really out there. I'm honestly still processing how I felt about it. Episode 48 has some Resistance members patrolling the streets, taking down Skibidis. The war has been going so long at this point, it almost seems endless. Business as usual, until this terrifying flying buzzsaw Skibidi appears and takes them down. It's insane. The Skibidis still have tricks up their Skibidi sleeves. Episode 49 has flying buzzsaw Skibidi and G-Man Skibidi going fucking nuts on the city. Some TV heads show up possessing buzzsaw Skibidi and making him explode into the ground. Then, right as they're about to be overpowered, they warp the protagonist to safety in the nick of time. This one had my heart pumping. Episode 50. The Skibidis are attacking a Resistance base and seem to be really messing the place up, until a giant fucker Shadow Moses robot appears and destroys all the attacking Skibidis in tremendous fashion, like a fucking roller coaster. Episode 51 gives us a POV from inside the giant fucker robot, as we see him just annihilating a bunch of giant Skibidis. This episode is fan service like crazy, but you know what? I loved it. Episode 52 seems to be showing us how the war is raging on. We get to see some cool new tech from the Resistance and some great battles with the Skibidis. What more could you ask for? Episode 53 shows us yet another battle. This weird Skibidi we've never seen before appears, who can disintegrate resistance. Giant fucker robot lunges for him, but can't quite seem to get him before he speeds away. The episode ends with the resistance wheeling this big laser into the town square. Are they still trying to save enormous machine? Episode 54. More new resistance tech. This time it's these beams that freeze Skibidis in their place. It seems as though they've harnessed the TV head abilities. A Skibidi that moves real fast starts giving them some trouble until a TV head appears and puts it in its place. Things are starting to go well again. Episode 55. The resistance seems to be marching towards a confrontation with the Skibidis. They face some resistance, but Giant Fucker Robot makes quick work of them. This is a simple but incredibly effective episode. It reminds you why you fell in love with Skibidi in the first place. Episode 56 has the resistance fucking up some Skibidis in some pretty vicious ways until a possessed enormous machine shows up and starts wreaking havoc. He destroys the lot of them. It's a brutal scene. Episode 57 is the longest episode of the entire series, clocking in at a massive, enormous 3 minutes. It's the battle we've all been waiting for between Giant Fucker Robot and Enormous Machine. It's actually fucking awesome. A giant Skibidi shows up and GF Robot starts taking them both on at once. Giant Fucker Robot gets stabbed, doesn't make a goddamn difference. It looks like GF Robot is finally about to destroy possessed Enormous Machine when G-Man Skibidi shows up very angry. He realizes he's outmatched and retreats. Finally, GF Robot removes that fucking disgusting little Skibidi possessing Enormous Robot, and he's free. He's free! It's a beautiful moment, a beautiful and epic episode. Episode 58 has Enormous Machine no longer possessed and back on the side of good, and back doing what he does best, destroying those rotten Skibidis. Some helicopters try to destroy him, he destroys the helicopters. He and GF Robot fly off to find more Skibidi toilets. Episode 59 has what we've all been waiting for. Robot and Machine teaming up. They wreck, they destroy, they shake each other's hands. It's triumphant and inspirational. I think we can learn a lot from these machines. Ironically, about ourselves. Episode 60 has the Resistance spying on G-Man Skibidi. There's an attempted mutiny from some of his men, though he's saved at the last moment. It's clear that their fight is weakening. This episode ends with our entire group getting ready to go fight. Episode 61 introduces us to a new insane resistance member. Episode 61 introduces us to a new insane resistance member. Bass drop Speakerhead. He's brutal and he takes out a long-haired Skibidi with ease. It's clear that they're setting him up for something incredible, and I can't wait to see what. Episode 62 is the latest episode of Skibidi Toilet as of writing this, and it's the first resistance loss in a while. Not just that, it's a brutal loss. What is at first a normal day quickly becomes an all-out assault from Skibidi G-Man and his army. This episode ends with carnage coming straight towards the camera. Skibidi Toilet is narratively tight, acted with sincerity, and written with the best of them. Though no one can say, I'm sure, quite where these toilets, these TV heads, and these resistance members will end up, I think no one can deny that it'll be one of the most satisfying thingies to ever be made. Skibidi Toilet.